In Dungeons and Dragons, do you feel like your character doesn't grow as a character? It doesn't have any moments where they can turn into something else if they want to. They want to go on a different path. I mean, except for multi-classing, of course. I am creating a TTRPG that hopefully fixes that. And no, I'm not saying it's perfect, and it does not fix everything. But I decided to make a world that was inspired by Adventure Time, Fallout 4, and Mad Max kind of a style, where it's a post-apocalyptic world where you can be almost any kind of thing you want. This includes pencils, computers, grapefruits, meatballs. You could be a regular person, but this whole world is a whole amalgamation of things where things are just mutated. I've created different ways that the races are built, that the mutations that you get are made, if you want mutations, and I've also built a new class system. It's pretty complicated if you think about it, but once you get the hang of it, it's not as complicated as you think. It's kind of like how D&D is. You think it's really complicated, and then you get the hang of it, and you're like, hey, I overcomplicated everything. The whole purpose of this TTRPG is to be able to tell more flexible stories with the characters, and being able to directly impact how they progress through storytelling. And I mean, if you guys are just here for the combat, I'm not really focused on the combat yet. The combat is just regular combat like in D&D. You can have just as much or just as little, depending on the session. But this is going to definitely be a more roleplay heavy experience. The whole point of my class system is to make sure your character's personality and how they work progresses with the story. So when you reach a certain level, you'll branch off into a different kind of class. And sure, this sounds like a path that you would take in D&D, but I assure you it is not. Because almost every beginning class has different paths, or the same paths as the other classes. The character classes are Squire, Thug, Recruit, Novice, and Apprentice. And this may change. I might change the names for them. I don't know yet. But each of those classes will then be able to branch off into 2 to 4 different other classes where you get to choose your path where you go. So you could choose to go into a sorcerer path, or a fighter path, or a mugger path, or a healer, artisan, trooper, swordsman, gunslinger. All these different paths you get to choose from. And you get to keep the same characteristics from your previous paths. If you decide to go Squire, you're going to start off way differently than someone's going to start off as Apprentice, even if you both end up at the same class. So, the class system, you go from level 1 to level 4. That's when you can level up, at level 4. And then level 8 is when you decide to go into a class that has a more direct path towards the end. So these paths are basically your ending paths. Your path is defined, and now you just progress to the last level, which is level 10. When you progress to level 10, you don't get to choose which class you go into that time. I want to make this into a faster level up experience than D&D is, but not by a lot. I still want months trying to get to level 10 and going through the story and just having fun. Maybe it could just be a whole year kind of campaign. There's different races, obviously, but with these different races, there's sub-races. So we have elementals, humanoids, mutated objects, and mutated foods. So with elementals, obviously there's like fire, water, blah, blah, blah. They're called different names, like they're called flameborn, all these different things. Same with mutated objects. You could also be, with the humanoids, you could be humanoid mythical creatures. You could be a humanoid manticore if you want. The subclass is called Mythborn, and you get to choose what you want to be. So Elemental's more direct. Everything else, you basically get to choose what you want to be because it's more flexible that way. With mutated objects, there's specific ones, like you can be a tool, which means you just choose what tool you want to be. And then we get into mutations. Now, with mutations, each race gets a certain amount of mutations. And there's bad mutations and good mutations. Good mutations are really expensive. And you probably won't get most of them. You probably could get 1 or 2, maybe possibly 3 of them. But with bad mutations, you need to be able to spend a certain amount of points, and then you get triple that points back, that point value back. So the most you can spend is about 3 points. So if you spend 3 points on a really bad mutation, you get 9 points back for a good mutation. There's a chance I might nerf that a little bit. I don't know yet. We have different fighting styles too. And these are fighting styles, obviously, that you pick as you progress in levels. Certain classes will give them to you, certain ones just don't. Like if you start going into Sorcerer, you're probably not going to know that many fighting styles. And right now, I am currently working on the world. If you guys would like to check out this at all, put comments on this. Tell me where I could do better, what ideas you could have on certain things. I am all for it. I will share this and let anyone and everyone be able to comment on this. So it's in the description down below. And I hope you guys like it and hopefully maybe even might use some of the ideas for your own campaigns. I'll see you later.